first slide.
Thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. Joyce, I will go ahead and pass it over to you.
Actually, I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. Today is the perfect day to work on improving post-secondary outcomes for each and every student. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Venice Bradley Mitchell, Director of District Engagement for NIPSE, and today we are talking about the Power of Hope winners for 2020-2021. Today's webinar will be led by my colleagues, the NIPSE partners, Dr. Joyce Brown and Greg Darniter, and chiming in from time to time, possibly Kelly Sparks. All right, I will then now hand it over to Counselor Extraordinaire, Dr. Joyce Brown. Joyce.
And it looks like Joyce got kicked off. All right, so I will quickly get us started until she is able to log back in. So thank you so much, Venice. Before we begin, we're just gonna go over a little housekeeping information. Again, please do keep your mic muted until we have Q&A. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box anytime during the webinar. We will be viewing the chat box throughout. And then this webinar will be recorded and sent out after. So a little bit about the NIPSE team. The National Post-Secondary Strategy Institute helps school districts support every student toward attaining a successful post-secondary pathway through district policy and systemic change. Our NIPSE model focuses on leadership, data strategies, and school counselor engagement. We work with over 300 school districts across the country, between 2003 and 2009, we helped Chicago Public Schools develop their strategy development. So today we are happy to announce the second Power of Hope Award. So NIPSE, in partnership with ReachIR, has launched the Power of Hope Award, and we want to make sure that all students can achieve educational and career goals. And we want to strengthen school counseling and college advising. So I am going to pass this over. I believe Stephanie has just joined. So a little introduction. Stephanie is the Executive Director of ReachIR, and we are very excited to have her. So Stephanie, if you are ready, I will pass it over.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on the call today. I apologize for being just a tad bit late. I was running from another meeting about school counselors to jump onto this call. But so excited to continue this work and so excited to continue to lift up the school counseling profession, most importantly. Since our founding during the Obama administration, we knew, and Mrs. Obama knew very clearly, how important school counseling was to helping students to be college and career ready, and also with that to be college and career focused, essentially. So it's great that we can give students the tools that they need, but then what can we do to take them to the next step to truly access that work so that they can be successful? And that's what the Power of Hope is all about. Mrs. Obama talked about the power of hope in her final speech as First Lady. It was for our School Counselor of the Year recognition work. And that has just stuck with us, that the work that we do really does lift up the hope and the potential in all of our students. So while she is sort of passing that torch on now to a new administration and to those of us who are still very much committed to this work, we wanted to make sure that we continued our partnerships to give counselors not just the applause that they need and that they so rightfully deserve, but also to give them the tools and the support that they can use day in and day out. And what better way than to continue to be a partner on this district level work that is making systemic change, not just school by school, but district by district, and then therefore student by student. So we are so excited to continue to be a partner in this work. NIPSE has been with us since day one, and we are so excited to continue to lift up not only school counselors individually, but most importantly, the profession, and to make sure that we get school counselors in every school, starting in the elementary, but most certainly in the high school grades, so that students can be truly college and career ready and college and career prepared. So thank you all so much for being here. I'll be sticking around for a little while, so if there's any questions, feel free to chat me, but I will be around towards the end as well.
I'm going to jump in. Oh, go ahead, Joyce.
Oh, go ahead. I was just saying thanks to Stephanie.
Okay. Steph, it's great to see you as always. And just to expand a little bit more on Stephanie's remarks, some of you know that she and I actually had offices next to each other for 7 years at the U.S. Department of Education. And so we are thrilled that she is now Executive Director for ReachHire. And she's also joined the NIPSE Board of Directors, and Eric Waldo, who was previously Executive Director, continues on our board as well. So Joyce, I'm going to throw this back to you for introductions of the first districts.
These are our winning districts. We are so pleased that they are here with us today. We have 6 of the 8 that are going to be presenting, and you will just be in for a road show to your delight. On the next slide, we want to show the practices that they are engaged in. It is the moment that we have been trying to get the information out to the nation, and we're so excited. On the next slide, please, Amanda, you will see the district practices. We have the Spotlight Award winners. We have Columbus, Iowa, who's going to present on the high school counselor and community engagement model that they have. We have Grand Prairie that's going to present on counselors leading in collaboration with their administrators. From Moreno Valley, we have the outline of the pre-K through 12 college and career readiness strategies. New York City is going to present on their foundation course and how that is circling the support around their school counselors. San Jacinto is presenting on their K through 12 model, as well as their administrator and school counselor framework. And then Westminster is going to talk about post-secondary advising strategies across all grade levels. We could not be prouder of these districts, who are the 2020 Power of Hope winning districts. They are truly leaders in their field and working in collaboration to make sure that all of our students have the information. They will share a brief overview of their work today, and their topics are here on the screen. Please take a careful look at them. Put in the chat if you want to have additional information, because in the very near future, we hope that we can post videos of a deeper dive into their practices on the NIPSE website. So please put in the chat any information or any particular district presentation that you want more information on. That being said, we'll kick it off with the first presenter. On the next slide, we have our very own Teresa Putnam Ginn. She is the College and Career Transition School Coordinator for Columbus Community School District, Columbus, Iowa. Turning it over to you now, Teresa.
Thank you, Joyce. Welcome, everybody. So my little town of Columbus Junction, Iowa is very small. My graduating class at Columbus Community High School is this year 52 students. But the unique thing about my position is that I'm shared between 2 high schools and a community college. So if we could go to the next slide, I can explain it a little bit more. So this is the bridge that is locally with us. Our community college is about 30 minutes away from Columbus Community High School. This is Muscatine's Bridge, the Norbert Becky Bridge, and I serve as the bridge between Columbus Community High School and Muscatine Community College. So I'm actually a certified school counselor, licensed school counselor that is employed both by the community college as an academic advisor and as the high school, in the high school serving as a college and career counselor. So I'm focusing on junior and senior level students and building upon the work that my 7 through 12 school counselors have done, and then making very specific and intentional meetings with these students and their families to have them move across the bridge into post-secondary life. So I am serving as an academic advisor also in the community college. So I meet with my alumni from Columbus Community High School bi-weekly. We have a lot of post-secondary intentions at Columbus, and unfortunately, not always the enrollment and persistence that we had hoped for. So having me, this is my 5th year doing it, having me both in the high school and the college, every need that was met at the high school level, whether it's food insecurity, homelessness, mental health counseling, those things are also met at the college level with me serving as their advisor once a week. They do have an academic advisor that does schedule their classes. I'm just there sort of like a student advocate. Some things that I have done is at the college level, I'm an advising team member. So I attend all the meetings, receive all the trainings, understand in real time when there are changes to programming or changes to transferability of courses. And then I'm able to bring that knowledge back into the high school, serving as the academic advisor of our high school dual enrollment. But also, as I said, I'm their student success advocate here at the college. So once they cross the bridge into the college, I'm there. I help with summer melt. So my contract follows the high school schedule, but I save days to meet with students over the summer to be sure that every box is checked for them to start in the fall. If my students choose to not attend the community college, then instead of meeting them in person at the college, I'm contacting them through whatever means they share with me. So email, phone, text, things like that. And whatever school, trade school, community college, military, or job that they have chosen for their post-secondary life. So I follow them. My high school is 712. So I start with them in 7th grade, kind of on the fringe, work with them intensely in 11th and 12th grade, and then follow them into their first year of post-secondary life. And like I said, I think one of the most unique things is that standing on both sides, having a foot in both worlds, allows me to bring back the alumni experience of those that are in post-secondary life, bring that back to the high school to better prepare my high schoolers that are about to go into the real world, if you will. So my biggest thing is to keep the enrollment and persistence, keep the dreams of those students alive, to make sure that they are getting what they need at the college level and earning their degrees and moving on to their next step of life.
Thank you so much, Teresa. We know you are one busy counselor, and she's running off to teach her class at the college level. So we will be following back up with you around any questions. Thanks again. And on the next slide, we want to bring our second presenter into the limelight, and that is Dr. Dana Jackson, who is the Chief of Support Services for Grand Prairie Independent School District in Grand Prairie, Texas. Take it away, Dana.
Thank you so much, and greetings from the great state of Texas. I represent Grand Prairie ISD, which is between Dallas and Fort Worth. And in our district, it's very diverse. We have approximately 30,000 students. And today, we can go to the next slide. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how counselor leaders work to collaborate with administrators. So as the Chief of Support Services, I get an opportunity to serve counselors, social workers, the college access and college readiness programs, and our family engagement programs. But at my heart, I am a school counselor. And in this role, usually this is a role for administrators, principals, but our district chose a different approach to make sure that counselors are represented in supporting students. So one thing that campus counselors can do to have a better connection with their administrators is to keep the end in mind. Campus counselor leaders have to have a plan. At the end of the school year, when I know you want to pick up your purse and just go, that is the time before you leave to plan what went right this year. What are some things that we need to change? How can we better connect with our staff, our stakeholders, and students? So, planning ahead of time, looking at what worked, and making sure at the beginning of next year when you meet with your principals or your administrators, you're able to see what worked, what goals, what things are in line, making sure that you have dialogue with your administrators, but also making sure that it's purposeful dialogue that's going to support your comprehensive counseling program. So that's one of the keys that campus counselors leaders can do. Make sure they have a plan and make sure that they meet ahead of time with their campus administrator to execute that plan and be flexible and get buy-in from them. Anytime you have a conversation or dialogue with someone, it helps when you're speaking the same language. And when we're working with our campus administrators, not only are they worried about our comprehensive counseling program, they have to worry about the whole school. So it's very important that we look at the school plan. In the state of Texas, the school plan is called the Campus Improvement Plan. In that, it talks about academics, social emotional, safety, all aspects of what schools need to run smoothly. So campus counselor leaders need to make sure that they're aware of that plan and they're tying their goals, their resources, their efforts, their comprehensive counseling program into what is needed in the campus improvement plan so they can better connect and collaborate with administrators for meeting those campus goals. At the district level, and I've talked to Dr. Joyce Brown a lot on this. If you are a district campus counselor leader, a district leader, you have to be courageous. This is not a job for the faint at heart. Sometimes you will have to really stand in the gap for your campus counselors in order to make sure you're advocating so that they can do the work for students. So make sure you're visible. Make sure when you have an opportunity to promote counselors, to talk about their role, that you're there, that you are present in those meetings, that you have a seat at the table so that your campus counselor leaders, they have a seat at the table when you do. Also, in our state, pretty much like other states, there is a district improvement plan that drives the campus improvement plan. It is very important that the district leader is a part of those talks, weaving in social emotional learning, college readiness, counseling, responsive services, restorative practices, weaving in those things from the district level. So when they push down to the campus level, those conversations with campus administrators and campus counselors can be robust and connected. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Dana. That was terrific. If we have a chance, we'll talk about the 80-20% mandate that you have in your state. I think that would be of great interest to our audience. Okay, next up, we have Moreno Valley. We have our school counselor extraordinaire, Frances Rose. She's a high school counselor. She also serves on the district leadership team. Take it away, Frances.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate the introduction because I do feel a little bit intimidated because I'm just one of those campus, counselors. And I'm looking around at all the people who are involved here and I realize the power that they have. So I appreciate you including us in this. You can go to the next one. Moreno Valley Unified is a, suburban, urban, and you will hear from other districts in our area We have a lot of connections and we do a lot of similar things, but Moreno Valley Unified, from our perspective, there are a couple of things that we really wanted to highlight as to how we're progressing towards the post-secondary planning. So the first thing is that in recent years, we've struggled a little bit with the cohesion. And so we started a grassroots school counseling leadership team. And I definitely recommend, if you're in a district that doesn't have somebody like Dana, who's right there out there in charge, you know, and I know a few of you others on this call, that you go ahead and start it yourself. That courageousness that Dana talked about is really, really important, especially when you don't have a particular title or anything like that. But we have worked really hard for the past, gosh, it's probably been about 3 years now that the school leadership team started by meeting at a restaurant with the administrators and, you know, after school hours. But it was really important for us to have them hear what we were seeing in the trenches and what we thought was very important. So we have developed very powerful working relationships with the district and the site administration. In most of our sites, we work very closely with our administration, but I have to give an honorable mention to our superintendent, Dr. Martin Rex Kedziora, because he listened from day one. And so I felt like, as you know, I was seasoned. I'm seasoned. I've been here a long time, but as a regular site high school counselor, that he gave me that opportunity to speak up, and he gave me that opportunity to share my ideas with him, and he listened, and he found us to be a very valuable source of information, and he highly respects us. So that has carried over to all of the district administration, and now we have a pretty well established school leadership team that has representatives from all levels. So don't be afraid to speak up, speak out, and make yourselves heard, because we are important to our students. We cover the entire, you know, cross section of their lives. And so it's really important that we do speak up, and people will respond to that. We also take a lot of time to make sure that we are data driven. So we spend a lot of information, or excuse me, a lot of time gathering information, gathering data. We look at statistics. We then do intentional counseling action plans and things like that, that are our opportunity to show our district leaders and our school board and our community the kind of success that we're having with students. So that is also something that we focus on very much in our district. The focused activities that we have, I will say one of the things that's really important is the college kickoff. And for those of you who don't have this opportunity, I will say, when you hear from other Riverside County school districts, that this is something that the county does, is the college kickoff and the college celebrations. And so it is something that we have really incorporated within our district. We do it from a K through 12 approach. You'll notice some of the things that are on here. There's a representative of a high school college fair that is put on by the 11th and 12th graders, that they present colleges and careers to the 9th and 10th graders. We have lots of celebrations about college kickoff with teachers representing their schools and wearing caps and gowns at the middle schools. We have activities that way. We also have it even at the elementary school, and you will see that they have college shirt day. So across our district on Wednesdays is college shirt day. And I think that is one of the keys in our district, is that we definitely approach it from a K-12 perspective. We know that you have to start talking to kids young if you're going to have them focused in the right direction. We do a lot of parent engagement and education. We also have our intentional counseling action plans at the tier 1 and tier 2 levels, so that we make sure that we are hitting college and career and academics, as well as the personal social, and that we tie them all in together so that students understand how it's all connected, and how dealing with your stress can help you be more academically successful, which can lead you in a particular direction. So we focus on the whole child as much as possible. And then in our district, and often in other districts in our area, but our district started this quite a while ago, we have our California Colleges Guidance Initiative. CaliforniaColleges.edu is an organization that is a college exploration, career exploration, financial aid exploration. They have everything from resumes to links to fill out the FAFSA. And we work in our district as a collaborative with them. So all of our students have accounts on the California colleges, and they have lessons that go from 6th through 12th grade. And in our district, we've adopted those lessons. And so the counselors are very involved in making sure that the students do things like career exploration. They take interest surveys, things like that. And we are this year now implementing, we do not have with the California colleges an elementary curriculum, but we are implementing a program called EverFi, so that again, the college and career exploration is something that we do K through 12. And I think that's why Moreno Valley has been successful. Thank you.
That is terrific, Francis. And please do not diminish your role as a practicing school counselor.
Thank you.
I worked at a building for 34 years, and it was at that building that I learned how to be who I am today. And so when I went to central office, I knew how to lead because I knew what the groundwork required. So I always uplift you, practicing school counselors, and I'm sure Dana and the other district leaders will agree. They're the best leaders because they have that experience. And so you're a leader in your own right. So congratulations, you're doing fabulous work. Thank you. All right, so you heard from Moreno. Next up, we are going to hear from the New York Department of Education. Take it away, Melanie.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Melanie Mack. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the, the Office of Post-Secondary Readiness. So I lead a central office that's supporting our over 500 high schools in New York. And I just have to say, I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today, because one of the things I love about the past few years that New York City has been engaged with NPSI is the fact that I get to connect with wonderful people like you across the country, because we are all doing the same work and that work is constantly evolving. And I have to say, shout out to everybody here, because right now is a particularly challenging moment as we're seeing just how students and families have to navigate the changes from the pandemic and financial and health concerns. So shout out to all of you, grateful to be here. On the next slide, I can share a little snapshot of something that we've been doing in New York and that has only gotten better through our involvement with NPSI. And that's thinking about what a foundations course for college and career planning knowledge can look like. And that is something that is constantly evolving in New York City, evolving as we speak in our office, and we're having conversations back and forth. So the goal is that our school counselors, and in New York, we have roles and staff and organizations other than school counselors who are also supporting college and career planning. So when we think about our universe of practitioners, our goal is that they possess, develop, and maintain baseline knowledge in college and career planning in order to advise their students equitably and with a true grasp of the landscape of support services and options that are available. A little bit of background I already started to touch on, and that's you can click to the next. There's a couple clicks here. Just thank you so much, whoever is managing the slide here. So like I was mentioning, we have over 500 high schools in New York, which is an overwhelming number to me, even somebody who's been in New York for 17 years in education. And so you can imagine, as many of us have lifted up, just the diversity of needs, of students and families, and the diversity of practitioners and school counselors we have. We developed our first foundations course in 2011. So we're celebrating 10 years of this sort of approach to baseline college and career planning knowledge. And just to give you a sense, we train typically 1,000 to 1,500 staff members each year when you think about incoming school counselors, new staff, and some of the turnover that you naturally see, as well as folks who are continuing to take sort of refreshers. There's 5 lessons we've learned, and I'm going to quickly touch on each one of them because, as I said, this is an evolution. So shout out to all of us who are iterating, right? And learning as we go. So lesson number 1, when thinking about whatever your district's version of a foundations course might look like. Number 1 is setting measurable learning targets. Really, really check your assumptions on what you think school counselors and your community should know, or what they may have learned in grad school or through internships, right? If we're thinking about an equitable system for our students and equitable systems of support for our school counselors, we have to be extremely precise about the learning targets that we all want to hold ourselves accountable. And think about how they apply to school counselor specific roles, and where can there be spaces to demonstrate learning and share artifacts of learning. And so I would say prior to the pandemic, we would hold really large scale convenings where our counselors participating in the foundations course would be able to actually bring their data, bring their practice into spaces where they could have receive feedback from each other and with us in the central offices. Number 2, this lines up with number 1. Really look for content gaps in your own course, right? And you're in your own professional learning that you're offering, and look for content gaps, content knowledge gaps in counselor and practitioner knowledge base, right? In the conversations that you're having with the community of counselors in your district. We have to be very clear-eyed because our landscape is already evolving. I know in New York City, we're seeing some changes in college enrollment trends, right? We're seeing some changes in financial aid trends. We have to be really clear-eyed about where that exposes content gaps in our own knowledge as a central team, in the knowledge of our counselors, and constantly iterating on where we may need to add more into the course. I also, a push-pull that we have is in using partners to develop professional learning. We have incredible partners across the country and in New York who can provide really incredible college access and success professional learning and supports. But one of the lessons we've learned is to leverage your partners and curate their content, but don't fully outsource, right? Your foundations course, if you can help it. I know sometimes that's like a bandwidth issue if you're a small team or a growing team and you can't do everything. But I'll say an example of that is, we've learned, I believe Francis just shared, right? Everify is helping us with a module around career exploration. UAspire is doing a module around financial aid. One Goal is doing a module around how you program post-secondary planning into the school day. So really know what your partners do best and choose that, but don't fully outsource because you want to make sure that you're just really owning and focusing the content that is most important to your community, right? Which may be different from mine. Number 3, and I will hurry up because I'm probably running up on time. If you wouldn't mind clicking again. Plan for your own central or district team's parallel professional learning. Your district team or central organization will likely look very different from mine, but anything that we're putting out in the foundations course, I have to ask myself the question, do I know this content? Does my team know this content? Are we all as well versed, and are we continuing to develop our professional knowledge base and have a parallel professional learning process to what we're expecting our practitioners in schools to implement? Last 2, we learned through our foundations course that, and I made this point at the top, you just expect that you're going to have to keep on iterating on the content, because the more work you do, like Francis was just sharing, right, about developing a community of practice, all of your practitioners are going to become stronger and stronger, right? That is the hope. And so what we've learned in 10 years of doing the foundations course is that now we have a much more skilled community of school counselors and college and career practitioners. And that's really pushed us to now start to differentiate and innovate and think about, are really seasoned practitioners, and how do we elevate fellowships in ways that they can lead smaller professional learning communities and leverage all of the expertise that we have across our schools. And finally, one last click, evaluate your foundations course and your practitioners learning in multiple ways. We implement a senior survey. We ask every senior in the city to complete this survey before they graduate. So we use what our students are saying about the supports they received at the school. We use school data. We observe practice and develop communities of practice where there are intervisitations. These are all great ways to just keep pushing yourself to think about the effectiveness of the professional learning you're offering, the foundation you're building for school counselor expertise, and where it needs to continue to evolve. Thanks so much for the time and opportunity, everybody.
Thanks, Melanie. We enjoyed hearing about what's taking place in the nation's largest school district. And now up next, we're hearing from the San Jacinto Mighty counseling team, Dr. Vanessa Gomez and Erica Gardner. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vanessa Gomez from San Jacinto Unified School District. We're a district of about 10,000 students in Southern California, real close to Moreno Valley Unified. About 7 years ago, I was hired to take on the task of redesigning the school counseling program district-wide. And it was a charge that was undertaken by our superintendent and school board at the time. They wanted to make sure that we created an environment that was college and career ready and inclusive of all students. One of the first tasks was really figuring out how do we redesign the school counseling program so that we ensure that we're implementing the Ask a National model. And we realized at the time that we had to redefine the role of the school counselor and make sure that the school counselors understood what their role was, but importantly, train our administrators and our leaders from the top down on what was the role of the school counselor and what did that Ask a model look like. So we started that work and we're able to increase some college and career indicators. We really worked closely and continue to work closely with our administrators and helping them to understand the Ask a National model. We do that in a variety of ways, whether that's through our result presentations that our school counselors do at the end of every year, or at the beginning of the year when they have their planning meetings with their administrators, where they ensure that they're connecting the school counseling program goals to the site goals as well as to our district goals. So we worked hard to create these systems and have regular meetings and trainings with our administrators throughout the year. We have a meeting at least once to twice a year with our administrators covering the overall program goals and focus. We have checks and balances in place so that if our new administrators are trying to understand what the role of the school counselors are, they could have access to our school counselor handbook and be provided some guidance by our school counselor leaders on what that role of the school counselor is. We have TK-12 school counselor meetings monthly and PDs available to our school counselors. And we also have school counselor boot camps to train our emerging school counselors and our interns so that they understand the full scope of our program. I'm going to turn it over to Erica to talk about some of the practices.
Thank you. So school counselors, just like teachers, work with a multi-tiered system. Tier 1 for all students, these are our core curriculum lessons and our summer melt work. Tier 2 for some students, like our small groups that are based off of data. And Tier 3 for a few students, which is really our crisis response, our individual meetings with parents and students where we're able to refer out to outside services. However, we also work with a multi-tiered, multi-domain system of support, or as we call it, MTMDSS. We not only focus on the tiers, but we also work with the 3 domains of academic, college, career, and social emotional. And then our program goals are driven by data and align with our schools and district goals. And these goals include increasing our A through G, or our college requirement rates, and increasing students taking rigorous courses that include our AP, our International Baccalaureate or IB, and college courses. So the way that we have done this is by decreasing barriers for students to take the courses and really creating systems to help students stay in the courses. This includes sharing information about these options during our core curriculum lessons, meeting with students one-on-one, reviewing transcripts to promote rigorous courses, hosting college workshops to help students through the application process, to take the college courses, and then also educating parents on the importance of rigorous courses. We have created an opt-out form that requires students and parents to meet with the school counselor before dropping a higher level course. This has really helped decrease that, so we're able to go over the importance of the course and why students should take the course and resources that the student and family do have available to help pass the class. This has helped increase sections of dual enrollment, which is with our local community college, our advanced placement and IB courses that are on campus, and classes at the community college. This also allows for buy-in from administrators to help support school counselors in their work, because these goals do align with their goals as well. So thank you so much for having San Jacinto Unified here with you today.
Well, thank you both, Erica and Vanessa. And I can remember when I took over the district leadership role in 2005 in Chicago, we know that they had decreased school counselors in California. So it's just great to see how far you all have come. So congratulations on all your programs. Okay, last but not least, we were going to hear from Sandra Steiner, Westminster Public Schools, Westminster, Colorado. Take it away, Sandra.
Thank you, Joyce, and thank you everyone who's already spoken. My goodness, this is really an impressive group of people, and I'm learning already so much from all of you that this is a truly valuable conversation. And I feel like I am only sharing the work that my team is doing, because they really do, boots on the ground is how this stuff happens. And so, Francis, yeah, you're right where it happens. So keep up the great work. We were fortunate enough a few years ago to be able to get a school counselor grant. And we have, as a population in our district, about 8,500 kids. And we're a majority minority district. And so we have a large number of students who are on free and reduced lunch. And so we have a significant number of barriers that our families experience in trying to encourage their students to go on to any sort of post-secondary education. And so we knew we had to do something fundamentally different in order for us to be able to shift the dialogue that was happening in the district. And so we actually created a future center, and we hired school counselors with the sole purpose of helping students future plan. So we committed all of their effort and energy around that initiative exclusively. It doesn't mean that we don't cover the other two domains of social, emotional, and academic, but it is all woven into whatever their long-term future plan is. And from the very first year, we created curriculum that was uniform from level 6 all the way through 12. So literally every single kid in the district gets the exact same curriculum. It doesn't matter what school that they're attending, and how it's instructed is what's really unique. And so if you want to move on to the next slide, you can about imagine, and many of you are already doing this, how complicated it is to try to schedule this. And so on the left side is the high school. And so we have some of the instruction is done with the core counseling team at the high school. Some of it is done by the Future Center team exclusively, and then some of it is done as a joint instruction between the two of them. We all know that at any moment in time, some crisis could happen in a building and it will pull out your core counselors. And so somebody still needs to be able to go in and offer the curriculum to the students. And so it is currently available in a multitude of formats. We really prefer it if it's delivered in person. And so our focus is to get a school counselor in front of these students as many times as possible to be able to deliver it. But as a backup, we've actually created playlists for every single one of these things. And so students who happen to miss it for the day are still able to go back and get that curriculum. And then the school counselors at the Future Center are charged with ensuring the participation rates remain very high. And so they will go back and they will check every single student that was in attendance to make sure that they actually got the lesson and then they completed the required activities. And so we know who did it and who didn't do it. So we have in the high 90s in terms of participation rates from our 6th grade through 12th grade. On the right-hand side is the middle school, and this is just a baby schedule. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the more robust schedule of how we handle middle school. And so it is scheduled out to the individual class, the individual building, individual grade level, and we now have 2 teachers, future center counselors that are doing all of this instruction. And so they divide every single school from 5th grade through 8th grade, and they personally deliver every single one of these lessons to all of these kids. And it is a huge tracking and management situation, but we feel like that is the most important part of this, that no kid slips through the cracks. And so we make sure that we touch 100% of them. And if you do not happen to make it to that instructional day, they have follow-up one-on-one instruction with all of the kids that miss this. We have planned one-on-one instruction in the key years. And so senior year, you do not escape us. They will call them down. They will meet them outside of the classroom. They have 1-minute meetings is what they call them. And then they have this thing that they created called Just Do It Days. So we don't care if you're going to work, if you're going to the military, if you're going to college, if you're going to a trade school, I don't care what it is that you're doing, but you need to demonstrate that you have taken some steps to be able to prepare for that day after graduation. And so they have Just Do It Days where they actually go into the room with the counselor that they need for exactly what the plan is that they intend to pursue. And they will work with them on making sure that they have some demonstration of their readiness for that. So whether it's a workforce application, a college application, they've applied to the military, they've got plans to go and investigate different trades programs. They have to do something to be able to check that box that says that they are actually ready for the day after graduation. The counselors have also created this robust set of online available 24/7 tools for all these kids. And so they create a FAFSA wizard. So you can literally look at the wizard and be able to see how to complete every single page of the FAFSA. They've also created a course catalog for the high school that not only gives them the courses, but aligns it with pathways, aligns it with the ONET codes, aligns it with the local colleges. And so you can do all of that exploration on your own while you're still planning for what courses you're going to be taking for the rest of high school, or if you're just getting into high school. And so they start with this induction now in the middle school. And so by the time the kids get into high school, they've already mapped all 4 years of their electives toward the area that they want to study. And that is reviewed 2 times a year with the school counselors at the high school level, so they can make changes at any time. So if they've changed their mind because the first class didn't turn out to be quite as exciting as they thought it was, don't worry, we'll find you something else that appeals to you. And of course, we make sure to layer in as much opportunity to take concurrent enrollment in any of a variety of forms. So they leave with college credits, they leave with industry credentials, they leave with as much job experience as we can, because you all know if you do not plan for that when you go into high school, you will be a junior and you will be too late to be able to do all the things that you should have done before you leave. And so it's really important for us to start it younger. We finally have elementary school counselors in a few of our schools. This is a first for us this year. And so we are looking to introduce individual career and academic planning curriculum in levels K-5. But we had a little COVID situation, so it may get delayed for another year, but that is exactly what it is that we plan to do, so that we actually have a universal curriculum from kindergarten all the way through 12 that helps them figure out who they are, what they love, what we can do to offer support for them before they leave, and how to take advantage of it while they're still here.
Sandra, I think I speak for everybody saying this is amazing work. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And I say to our NIPSE team, when we took on this project of trying to identify school counselors who are doing the right work, we had no idea what we would run up against and who we would find. But all of you are amazing. And I think I speak for the entire NIPSE team to say you more than deserve the the title of Power of Hope Winning Districts, because your work really is impacting students one by one and individually. We had a quote from First Lady Michelle Obama that said, you know, counselors are the ones who are in the trenches chasing the kids down and telling them what to do and making them go on. And so this whole concept of 1 minute counseling, like I'm going to just track you down and make you do it, just do this work. I just love it. So I hope that everybody on the call has enjoyed meeting these fabulous presenters. I look forward to the work that we're going to do together. And you are just making us super, super proud. We just have a few minutes left, but we have a couple of slides and then I'll open it up for questions. So the next slide, please, Amanda. What we want to say here is that, again, time does not permit for really in-depth, because I have 1,000 questions to ask all of you. So I'm looking forward to engaging you in that next step of having a video presentation that we could do a deeper dive. But we are at the point where we're securing applications for the next round of Power of Hope winners. And personally, it's a personal goal of mine to make the world know and understand that counselors matter, and that we on this call are doing this work. We are not anomalies. Counselors across the nation are doing this work using data to inspire, connect, push to make sure every single kid can reach for an education beyond high school. So at this time, Greg, would you just talk a little bit about the deadline and the new Power of Hope for the new Power of Hope Award application?
Thanks, Joyce, I will. And let me just add my congratulations to all of you. It's one thing to read your applications on paper, and then it's another thing to take the last 40 minutes and hear from your voices and just how you talk about your work, and to hear it all together. So we will be doing everything possible to take this webinar and push it out to different audiences. It will certainly be in our revised, updated website in the next 10 days, 45, 50 minutes is going to be spread much wider across the country. So thank you again. So just a reminder, and just to underscore many of the points that have been made up to now today, this is not an individual counselor award. It is not an individual high school award. This is an award to a district, to districts, where counselors are at the center of driving a college and career strategy that spans at least 6th grade through 12th grade. It can go into the lower grades, as some of you have clearly articulated your strategy includes, and it can carry over into post-secondary, as some of your strategies clearly evidenced by even splitting positions between the district and the higher ed institutions. So one of the things that we learned in doing this is that some of the best innovation, and this isn't to say anything about New York City being the largest district in the country, but some of the cleverest and real innovation that's happening is in rural schools or in districts that have limited numbers of high schools, 1, 2, or 3. And so it's to elevate districts, it's to elevate your commitment and dedication. So this award also is focused on districts that have at least 50% free and reduced lunch, where data is core to the strategies and what you're learning. As you know, we're particularly interested in FAFSA as one of 20 different data point, research-based college and career data points. So even with the pandemic, we've heard a number of stories across the country where districts have maintained and increased their FAFSA completion rates. But we want to hear, for districts that will be applying, we want to hear your FAFSA story. And we want to see at least 3 years of FAFSA data, along with 2 other of 20, again, college and career data points that are part of the application process. We I appreciate the comments. I think Melanie made them about, taking advantage of resources in your community from other nonprofits and higher ed institutions and the such. But we last year received a number of applications where districts had totally turned over their college and career work to an outside organization. So we're not interested in that strategy. We're interested in how we help and deliver a message around building the systems within a district that will live on for years to come, that will impact literally every student, all students. So the deadline is actually, 30 days from today? It's due December 17th. And we truly look forward to receiving the applications from districts from across the country. It can be any size district, which is evidenced by just who presented today. We are interested in charter management organizations in submitting. So we get questions each year. We have gotten questions last year and this year already about that. And yes, if you're part of a charter management organization and would like to apply for this, as long as you're, and most charters are considered a public school within a public school system, then we are interested in hearing from you. Joyce, I'll throw it back to you to cover anything I left out.
No, you were perfect. We just want you guys on the call to push out the application to your networks. If you know of a district where counselors are working in an engaged and empowered fashion, we're trying to identify them and lift up the best practices, the best practice models to the decision makers. And so please help us get it out. And please, we will be reaching back out to you about the videos and other possibilities to keep this great momentum going. You just have no idea how thrilled the NPSI team is to have you on this call and to hear, as Greg said, the work off the paper application and really hearing deeply about the practice. We have enjoyed it immensely. We have about 4 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions in the audience that they want to pose? If so, just unmute yourself and ask it out. If not, I do have one final question for our presenters. Anybody have anything? Unmute and shout it out. Okay, in 30 seconds or less, this is the closing statement. Please, because this is an interest of mine, principal-counselor relationships. I had the privilege in my 34 years working at the school level to have an impact on all the 7 principals that oversaw my work. And so I'm very interested in principal-counselor relationships. So Francis, you said you got your superintendent to meet you at a restaurant to say, listen, counselors got to do differently and listen to us. Data said they train the principals. Vanessa said they don't let anybody come in and and not know what counselors do. So just give me one strategy, one point of how you get that done, because I talked to many districts where principals don't understand the roles and the counselors are not being effective because of it. So Francis, tell me how you got Dr. K to meet with you.
I just invited him. He is very open and very welcoming, and that helps tremendously. But I have to say that, we take a twofold approach. We work very closely with our assistant principal who's over counseling, and that relationship we develop on a daily basis. But we are lucky enough, we had Dr. White prior to Dr. Kedziora, and we have Dr. Kedziora, that they are willing to set up meetings with anybody. And so I guess my one strategy is don't be shy. Don't think that nobody wants to listen to you. Go ahead and try it. I mean, the worst thing is they pass you off to the next person under them, which is still way up there. So to me, start at the top. Work with your people at your school site, but start at the top, and you'll be amazed at what they are willing to listen to.
Anybody else want to chime in? Thank you so much, Francis.
I can chime in just from the perspective of I've never been a school counselor, but I was a high school administrator. And I sat down with our school counselor and I said, tell me everything that's on your plate that I don't understand or know about, right? And just walk me through that because, you know, in the way that a teacher may have a daily program of classes, there are things that are like much less transparent and visible that are deeply, deeply important to the school community. And so I had to just make myself much more aware of everything that was on her plate. And I think that I would encourage counselors to, you know, sort of open those conversations courageously, like Francis did, right? And say, hey, let me tell you, just for, you know, benefit of our community, here are all the things that are on my plate. Let's talk about, you know, how those all impact student achievement.
I would also add meeting with the campus principal and saying, what is your vision? And finding out what that vision is and showing them how your comprehensive counseling program can uplift and support that vision. Sometimes they don't know. They don't know how to use us. They don't know what we actually do. And so having those crucial conversations and getting to know what they really need and showing them how we can use our skills to help in the area of academics, social, emotional, and college and career. And a lot of times that'll bridge any divide there may be.
To piggyback on what Dana just said, when you get the opportunity to actually present the lesson, make it the highest quality you possibly can. Because the minute that the rest of the teachers start to see the level of work that you put into really trying to elevate the performance of all of the students, and they start to buy into what you're doing, you're home free, because you're almost always going to be pushing into somebody's classroom. And so they need to know that if they're going to be giving up that precious time, that you're going to be doing something truly constructive with it.
And I'd say ditto to what Dana said. It's so important to help the administrators understand how the school counselors really can help drive the vision and the mission of the school program altogether. But I would add that you want to create systems where that relationship is sustained. So in our school counselor evaluations, there's a component where at the beginning of every school year, it's an expectation that the counselors and administrators have a meeting where they're reviewing their goals, their programs, and that there's at least a minimum of a regular monthly meeting that is structured and organized. But I could tell you that Erica meets with her principal every day, and it's about developing that trust, you know, those basic relationship skills.
Yep. Well, this has been terrific, guys. I'm pushing the counselor ed programs to join the principal training and the counselor training together so we don't have to keep re-educating them. But I love your comments. I've never been afraid to speak to the boss. So that's my advice to everybody. It's been great. Please stay safe. Have a great holiday, and we'll be reaching out to you. And thanks again so much for being a powerful Power of Hope Award district. We appreciate all of you. Bye-bye.